Tandem Nomads, episode 153. There is so much free information and free content out there to help you grow your business. But how are you making sure to not waste time and energy while taking full advantage of the available free resources that are out there for you? This is what we will discuss today. Hello, Nomad Nation. Welcome to Tandem Nomads, the podcast show and entrepreneurship platform where you can find great inspiration and tips to grow a successful portable business and thrive in your global nomadic life. This is your host, Emel Deregi. I'm a business and marketing coach and the founder of Tandem Nomads. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in this episode, and I want to especially thank all of you who keep coming back episode after episode, and a big welcome to all of you who join us today for the first time. So this is for me a really important episode because I want to share something with you before I go deeper into this topic. Every single time I prepare an episode, I'm really trying to be very conscious about the fact that you are giving me your attention, and I really don't want to take it for granted. And this is why I really want to thank you for joining here. And I constantly wonder, what can I do to make sure that these episodes are really worth your time and your attention? Because I know there's so much information out there to help you grow personally, but also in your business. And I am really conscious about the fact that today in our society, we're getting through a little bit of a overwhelm and a burnout of content consumption. And I really want to invite you to be very mindful about the way you consume content. And this is why I'm trying to be mindful about the way I provide my content to make sure that it really helps you along the way. So thank you for listening again. I really hope that this episode will be helpful for you in your journey with growing with your business. Because in fact, today you can learn about anything online for free, as I said, especially when you're looking to grow a business. But there is so much content out there that you can quickly get overwhelmed, but also struggle with the fear of missing out on something. So the more content you consume, the more you wonder if there is something else out there that you might have missed. And I really want to make sure that you are empowered by the way you're giving your attention to various contents out there. But before I go into there, I want to just ask you, are you a content junkie? You might identify with that, don't you? Anyhow, but before I go into sharing with you some tips, I really want to make sure that you know why you are consuming content. When you fall into a blog post, an episode, a newsletter, and you open it and you give your attention to it, even on your social media feed, even if you're scrolling through your feed, I want you to ask yourself, why are you consuming this content? It is important to ask yourself that question. Is it just a pleasure? Is it just a habit? Is it, or is it an intentional personal growth? But also, are you actually looking for a specific type of information for you to reach your goals? So when you are consuming content, make sure that you're knowing why you're doing it and that you're not giving your time and your attention to content that is not aligned with your big why, but also that you are aware that you're consuming a lot of content and that it is aligned with your goals. So this is something very important that I want you to really be aware of first of. So I'm going to share with you here some tips, and just for you who have been listening to this episode regularly, you might already know it, but every single one of my marketing episodes, I bring them along with a blog post where I summarize some of the main points. So for you to find the link to all these points, go to tandemnomads.com/153 and you will be able to find all the summary of this episode, but also the link to the blog post where I summarize the main points I want to share with you, so that you can also have it a bit easier for you. As you can see, I'm really trying to make it the easiest for you to be able to get the information you need. Now, let's say that you are very clear about your goal and you're very mindful about why you are spending some time on consuming a certain type of content. Let's say your goal is to grow start a portable business. So here you need to be aware of that there is 3 different phases and you might be in one of these phases. So what I'm going to share with you is what are these three phases, and then what to be aware of in each phase, and what actions I recommend you to take in order to be mindful about the way you manage and consume that wealth of content that you have at your fingertips. The first phase is what I call the exploration phase. It's a phase where you consume a lot of content and you're trying to learn a lot, but you're implementing very little. So here it is kind of normal that you are in that stage when you're learning that you can't implement a lot because you still have to learn so much about how you can do that, right? So here I want you to be aware about not letting time slip away. And don't get stuck in that phase of exploring nonstop and not doing much. So this is very, very important. Also, be aware of not being in that illusion that you're doing something by just consuming content. Consuming content and learning is not implementing. So make sure that you're aware about that and you're not giving yourself that illusion. And finally, you might as well experience the overwhelm of reading so many things or listening to so many tips that you don't know anymore where to start. So let me know in the comments of this show notes, tandemnomads.com/153, if you feel this way. I would really want to know how many of you here listening are feeling that way. tandemnomads.com/153. I would love to hear from you. But here is what I would recommend you to do. The first thing is set up a deadline when you will start implementing your goals. As you remember, I was just telling you, when you consume content, you need to be aware why you're doing it and what's your goal behind it. So once you know that goal, set up a time frame in which you will start implementing and not just learning. The second action I invite you to do is to explore first. You've spent time exploring different sources of content. There's so many sources of content in different fields available out there. But once you have spent, say, a couple of months exploring, I really urge you to then pick your top 3 resources and then stick to them instead of keeping reading and researching and outreaching to multiple different sources and influencers, for instance. And to do that, to choose your top 3 resources, you want first to look at who do you feel the most aligned with? Who do you feel like you're learning from in a natural way and an easy way? Look at their style of teaching and figure out if that has worked. And that should be pretty natural choice for you to make, because if you've been consuming so much content, you should be able to know which ones have been resonating with you and which ones have provided you the most aha moments and the most results. Because at some point, you do want to see if whatever you're reading, listening, or consuming is providing you results, right? So explore and then pick your top 3 resources. One more tip I want to recommend you that I've been doing and that has changed so much for me, because I've been going through that overwhelm as well before I started Tandem Nomads when I was learning how to podcast. So I used to sign up for so many newsletters that my email box would be full with newsletters, and I would just skip important emails sometimes because of that. So what I did is create a special email address that's only for newsletters. And then only keep my top 3 resources in my main email box, so that if I still don't want to lose the other resources, I still have a place to go to. And those that I really trust and go to regularly are on my main email list. So I really recommend you to do that so that you can really focus and not get distracted every single time you get an email on your mailbox while you should be doing something else. Right? I'm sure you know what I'm talking about here. How many times I've been going to your mailbox with the intent of emailing somebody important or answering to an important email, and then you get distracted by that newsletter that come on your feed and you don't even finish reading it because then you remember that you have to do something else. But in the meantime, you forget what it was. So make sure to not do that mistake. And so create an email box that's specifically for your newsletters, and that you can schedule in your calendar to say, okay, once a week, I'm going to go through that. For example, Friday afternoons, you just do that. And then keep those 3 top resources in your main email list. Also, I recommend you to have a bookmark on your internet browsers where you can keep all these things. So have a bookmark for your main top 3 resources and then another one for all the others, so that you don't have to go back and try to search again for the information that you've been typing and searching for hours, and then you don't know where to put them. So already prepare your bookmarks now so that you can go back to those information very easily. I, for example, have a bookmark for everything that's related to tech, one that's related to marketing, and one that's related to expatriation, for example. So think about what other topics are relevant for you and try to organize them a little bit so that it helps you as well, not lose the information you have. All right, so this was the first phase, exploration phase. And I hope that these tips would help you. Now, once you have been through the exploration phase and then started picking up your 3 top resources, it's time to start implementing. And it's really important. This is my biggest message for you, no matter where you are. At some point, you need to stop learning and start implementing. So I hope you don't stay stuck in that exploration phase and move very quickly to the implementation phase. All right, so this second phase, the implementation phase, here are some of the things you need to be aware of. First of all, the implementation phase is actually a phase where you still consume a lot of content and are as well implementing in parallel. So basically your level of consumption of content is equal to the level of implementation. And the problem here is that it can get very, very overwhelming. So be prepared for that, because that's also a part where you start wondering, oh my God, where am I going to start? And the more you start implementing, the more things will come up that you have to start learning as well to get to those different phases. So here, really be prepared that between theory and implementation, there is sometimes a whole world apart. So you might sometimes get stuck and need to even consume more content to get unstuck with those issues you might meet on the way. But one thing I've learned from working with so many of my clients and giving them myself guidance through these is that one of the things with implementing, for example, you need to start writing your blog and learning how to use a web page, or knowing how to start installing your email marketing service. These are the typical technical issues that I see a lot of people have when they start their business. So on top of the technical challenges, what I've realized is that most of the challenges actually don't come from technology, but from the lack of confidence and also a certain mindset that will stop you from moving forward rather than the real technicalities. For example, if you're not comfortable with technologies, it is the fact that you're not comfortable with it and maybe not willing to push your comfort zone that will stop you more than the technique itself. So make sure to push a little bit through your comfort zone, and we'll talk more about it there. But this is the second thing I noticed, the lack of confidence and the mindset in which you approach the implementation phase. Also, the third thing is that you have to be aware of is that you might suddenly have so much to think about and so much to do that you don't know anymore where to focus. So here are some tips and some things to take action on in order to manage and deal with the implementation phase more effectively. First, as I said, you need to push through that comfort zone. You need to push through those things that you're not aware of, not familiar with, and not comfortable with. And there, you're going to need to build patience. Oh, my friend, Nomad Nation, you need to build patience. And I don't know how many of you here are listening and wondering why it's not going faster. Why are we taking so long to get to where you want to be? So very important that you are really respecting your pace while pushing your comfort zone and building the patience and resilience you need. You cannot build your whole business overnight, and you need to accept that. So make sure that you're aware about that. The second thing I really want you to be diligent with is to build an action plan. You want to have a specific action plan of what to do and when to do it, and then schedule a consistent time in your calendar while building patience with it. And when you schedule it, be really realistic with the time you have and how you can make it happen. So for that, I have a lot of episodes, but I will send you to specifically 2 episodes about how to schedule your time and manage your time to reach your goals. So go to tandemnomads.com/153 and I will put the links of those resources right there. Other tips about this implementation phase, and this is probably one of the most important one. Don't wait for it to be perfect. Aim for good enough. Don't try to have everything sorted out before you move forward or even, for example, you launch, because the truth is, it will never be good enough. And if you wait for it to be good or perfect, nothing will happen and you will never see the light at the end of the tunnel. So really, really embrace imperfection, because perfection is the enemy of good, and that will stop you from moving forward and will get you even more overwhelmed and frustrated than you might already be. So really, really, I hope you get that point. It is so important. But to help you through this, I also recommend you to find like-minded peers who are working on similar things. And for that, I really recommend you to come and join Tandem Nomads Facebook group, where you can do exactly that and get the support of other peers, and find also maybe some accountability partners who can help you along the way. But know that in Tandem Nomads Facebook group, you can ask your questions so we can guide you through the resources you might have and where you might get stuck. So again, go to tandemnomads.com/153 and you'll find the links to be able to join the Tandem Nomads group. But no matter if it is through Tandem Nomads or another group of peers that you align with, just don't be alone in this, because that will just get you stuck in the rabbit hole and not move forward. But if you're really, really committed to launch your business, for example, because I told you it depends on what goal you have, but if you're clear about your goal, and let's say your goal is to launch your business, if you're really committed to launch it, but also to do it at a fast pace, the truth is, the free content out there is never gonna be enough to help you get fast enough and get the expertise you need. So at some point, if you don't want to get lost in the mix of all these information, and once you've got enough insights and are ready to implement, that's a time where you might want to consider if it is time for you to start investing in the support you need. Be it through a coach, be it through a training, be it through a mastermind or any other source that will help you actually guide you and give you personalized guidance to get the answers you need faster and implement quicker. I see a lot of people spending so much time with free content and not getting anything done. So ask yourself, is it time for you to start implementing with the help of an expert and investing in yourself to get the results you need? Because the truth is, once you start investing, that's when you start making money. And that's when you start getting results on any other goal you have for yourself. If you truly trust the source that will support you, if you really are sure that they can help you, then you know that that's the place where you need to invest to be able to get to growth and results. All right? Okay, so that was the second phase. Now comes the third phase. Once you've passed the exploration phase, then you move to the implementation phase. You hopefully by then would have gotten some results and grown your business, which leads you to the third phase, which is the growth phase. That's a phase where you start really consuming very little content and not learning so much new stuff, but spending a lot of time on implementing. That, Nomad Nation, is an amazing place to be, because you are in control of your business and you know where you're going and you're focused and you are in it. All right. You are in it. And it is a great place to be, honestly. But I've learned something from there. So this is my personal experience. One thing that I realized as I've been growing and really implementing is that at some point there is no more time or mental bandwidth to continue learning and exploring. And that is a dangerous place to be if you want to be relevant, especially if you have competition. Actually, the next episode is going to be about competition. And if you stop learning, you will never be able to keep up with your market. So but most importantly, with your clients, by the way. So be careful to not be in that phase where you're just growing and you're not leaving space and time for you to be able to grow. And also, the good thing, though, is that you will be in a place where you can start creating your own systems and methods. So at the second phase, you would have been implementing a lot what other people teach you. But one thing you will see is that the more you learn about what people are teaching you, the more you start tweaking, hopefully, in a way that works for you. Because the truth is, there is no one solution for everyone, especially when it's about growing and launching a business. But there are some proven systems, of course, and strategies. But then in terms of implementation, you're going to have to fine-tune them to your situation. And honestly, it's such a great and interesting place to be, as well as a place where you want to keep attention and really take notes of what you're doing, because it might be helping other people. Maybe at some point you will be in a place where you can teach other people things, your own learning lessons. And that's actually what I'm doing myself. When I'm implementing and tweaking and learning new things, I realize that I can also teach a different way to do things. So pay attention to that as well. But most importantly, don't forget to stay curious and interested. And here, some tips. The first one is make time to get out. Get your butt out. Sorry, but that's no other way to do it. I stopped going out to events because I had things to do. And then I kind of had the feeling that I mentally have shrank. And my motivation, my energy is not the same. So make sure that you don't get into that point. I really had to suddenly push myself to get out and start meeting more people. And suddenly inspiration was back. So don't be in that place where you lose inspiration because you're just stuck between you and your computer or your team. So carve out time for inspiration, but also inspiration not only inside your industry as well as outside. You can also try to make sure to have enough time for leisure, for example, theater, dancing, reading books, I don't know, whatever, something outside of your industry, because a lot of the inspiration I got was also from outside the marketing sphere, for example. So think about your case. What are the other hobbies you might develop or interests that can still keep you inspired, even if it's not in your industry? And finally, again, don't be alone in this, even in the growth phase. Don't go into your cave and stop mingling with other people. Join masterminds. And here it's about investing as well. Invest in a place that will keep you interested, such as a mastermind or a club, a place where you can find people from your industry, but also diverse people who can inspire you. All right. So these were the 3 phases of content consumption. The first one was the exploration phase, where you explore a lot of different content to reach your goals. The second one is the implementation phase, when you start implementing what you learn, but you also are consuming a lot, because the more you learn, the more questions you have, the more answers you're looking for. And there, make sure at some point to stop consuming, but also investing in yourself. Very important. And third point is the growth phase. And there, I really want you to make sure to stay curious, even if you are so focused on what you're doing that you really need to put yourself into it. But it is a dangerous place if you start locking yourself up and not look outside of your own sphere. All right, Nomad Nation. So I've shared with you some tips here. I hope this was useful for you. Please share in the comments of this show notes of this episode, tandemnomads.com/153, the answer to this question I have for you. Which phase are you in, and what actions will you take from what I shared with you today? I'm really here to help you, so I would love to know how this is helpful for you. So go to tandemnomads.com/153 and let me know which phase are you in and which action will you take to move forward? Thank you again so much for your attention. I do not take it lightly, and this is why I really try to give you also some insights so that you can make your own choices. So thank you for making the choice to listen to this episode and for your attention. I'll see you in the next episode where we'll talk about some interesting legal aspects that you need to think about in your business. So I'll see you there. In the meantime, stay tuned to turn your challenges into great opportunities.